The thunder rumbled like an angry beast as the torrential rain pounded against the canvas of our tent. I could barely make out Macy's anxious silhouette next to me, her face illuminated by the occasional flash of lightning. The mountains, which had seemed so majestic and serene just hours earlier, now loomed as dark, menacing giants. Macy had insisted we take this trip, her excitement palpable as we prepared for our mountain hike. "It'll be good for us," she had said, her eyes shining with anticipation. I had been skeptical, but her enthusiasm was contagious, so I had agreed. Little did I know that this adventure would soon spiral into something beyond my worst fears. The storm outside was relentless, and the noise was deafening. I could hardly hear Macy's frantic voice as she spoke, trying to reassure me that everything would be all right. I wanted to believe her, but the storm felt like a bad omen, a sign that our perfect getaway was about to unravel. Earlier that day, as we met Ryan, our guide, I had been struck by how effortlessly he seemed to handle the rugged terrain. His easy smile and confident demeanor had put us at ease. Macy, ever the social butterfly, quickly bonded with him. They chatted animatedly as we began our hike, their laughter blending with the sounds of nature. I had thought nothing of it at the time. Ryan was just being friendly, and Macy's charisma was part of her charm. But now, as I lay there in the darkness, my mind wandered back to the little moments I'd noticed, the lingering glances, the private conversations that seemed to stretch a little too long. I shook my head, trying to dismiss my suspicions. Macy and Ryan had been nothing more than friendly, yet a gnawing feeling of unease had settled in the pit of my stomach. As the storm raged on, my thoughts turned dark. The possibility of something going wrong wasn't just about the weather anymore. It was about something far more personal and devastating. If my instincts were right, this trip might be the beginning of the end for us. It was the morning after the storm, and the sun had finally broken through the thick clouds, casting a warm glow over the mountain landscape. The rain had left everything refreshed and vibrant. I could almost forget the chaos of the night before, but the unease in my chest remained. Macy and I emerged from our tent to find Ryan waiting for us, a reassuring grin on his face. "Morning, folks. Ready to hit the trail?" he asked, his enthusiasm contagious. Macy, her spirits lifted by the clear skies, nodded eagerly. As we set off on the day's hike, the beauty of the mountains began to soothe my nerves. The crisp, clean air was invigorating, and the serene environment was a welcome change from the turmoil of the storm. Macy and I fell into a comfortable rhythm, chatting about our plans for the rest of the hike. Ryan, ever the professional, led us with ease. His knowledge of the terrain and his engaging stories made the journey enjoyable. Macy was particularly animated, asking questions and showing genuine interest in everything Ryan had to say. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity, and I couldn't help but feel a pang of admiration for her enthusiasm. As the day wore on, I noticed how easily Macy and Ryan interacted. They seemed to share an effortless connection, their conversations flowing naturally. I found myself on the periphery, enjoying the hike, but increasingly aware of the chemistry between them. The way they laughed together, the way their eyes met, it was all too intimate, too familiar. That evening, as we settled around the campfire, Macy and Ryan sat close together, their conversation more animated than ever. I could see the glow of their connection in the firelight, and it unsettled me. Yet, I told myself it was just my overactive imagination. Macy had always been friendly and open with people, and Ryan was merely doing his job. After dinner, as I lay in the tent, I overheard snippets of their conversation through the thin fabric. Their voices were low and private, and though I couldn't make out the words, the tone was unmistakable. It was as if they were sharing secrets, their laughter muffled but still clear. I turned away, trying to ignore the knot tightening in my stomach. Macy and I had always been close, but lately, something felt off. I had hoped this trip would rekindle our bond, but instead, it seemed to be pulling us apart. The night was long and restless. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling of the tent, wondering how things had shifted so dramatically. I had always prided myself on being a supportive partner, but now I found myself questioning everything. This hike, which was meant to be a new beginning, felt more like the beginning of the end. The next morning greeted us with clear skies and a crisp mountain breeze. I tried to shake off the lingering discomfort from the previous night, but the atmosphere between Macy and me had shifted. Her once easy laughter now seemed distant, and the warmth that had characterized our relationship was replaced by a cool, uneasy silence. As we set out on the day's hike, I noticed how Macy's attention seemed divided. She was attentive to Ryan, engaging in conversations that seemed too personal for someone just met. They spoke in low tones, their heads leaning close together, sharing private jokes and meaningful glances. I could feel the subtle shift in her focus, and it left me feeling like an outsider in what was supposed to be our shared adventure. The hike took us through a series of stunning vistas, each more breathtaking than the last. Yet as I looked around, my thoughts kept returning to the distance growing between Macy and me. She was still physically present, but emotionally, she seemed miles away. Her responses to my attempts at conversation were curt, and she appeared more invested in her interactions with Ryan than in the shared experience we had planned. By lunchtime, I was growing increasingly frustrated. We stopped at a scenic overlook, where Ryan prepared a simple meal. Macy and Ryan sat close together on a rock, their heads bent in conversation. I tried to join in, but my comments were met with polite but disinterested replies. It was as if they were in their own world, leaving me to watch from the sidelines. After lunch, as we continued the hike, I caught snippets of their conversation. They were discussing personal matters, Macy's dreams, her favorite books, and her plans for the future. It was clear they were bonding on a deeper level, and the more I overheard, the more I felt a sense of betrayal. The evening brought no relief. Back at camp, Macy and Ryan were inseparable. They sat together, huddled close around the fire, their conversations a mix of laughter and serious discussion. I could see the genuine connection they had developed, and it stung with a sharp sense of loss. As night fell, I retreated to our tent, feeling the weight of the situation pressing down on me. Macy followed shortly after, her face unreadable. I tried to reach out, to talk about what was happening, but every time I opened my mouth, the words felt inadequate. She seemed distant, absorbed in her thoughts. "I think I need some space," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. Her words were like a dagger to my heart. "Can we talk later?" I nodded, though inside I felt a chasm widening between us. I lay awake, staring at the tent ceiling, consumed by a sense of dread. The mountain, which had seemed like a refuge, now felt like a prison, and the promise of a fresh start seemed more elusive than ever. As the night deepened, I grappled with the realization that our relationship was changing in ways I couldn't understand or control. The doubts that had been creeping into my mind now felt like a storm, and I was left wondering if this trip was more than just a hike. It was becoming a journey into the unknown. The next morning, the mountain air was cooler than usual, carrying with it a faint hint of tension. Macy and I went through the motions of getting ready for the day, but the usual camaraderie was missing. Her interactions with Ryan were more intense than ever, and I felt like a shadow in the background of their growing rapport. We set out for another leg of our hike, moving through the dense woods that had become our temporary home. The landscape was stunning, but my focus was firmly on Macy and Ryan. I noticed how Macy's laughter had taken on a new, lighter quality when she was with him, contrasting sharply with the polite silence she maintained around me. As the day wore on, we stopped for a break by a small, serene lake. I took the opportunity to explore the area, hoping to find some solace away from the suffocating proximity of Macy and Ryan. While wandering, I stumbled upon a small clearing, where I saw something that sent a chill down my spine. There, partially hidden under a bush, was a small notebook. Curiosity got the better of me, and I picked it up. It was leather-bound, and as I opened it, I found it filled with handwritten notes, some of which appeared to be messages from Ryan. My heart raced as I read through the entries, which included personal reflections and thoughts about Macy. The notes were intimate and affectionate, filled with references to the amazing connection he felt with her. One entry stood out. "Every time I look at Macy, I feel like I've known her forever. There's something special here, something more than just a hiking companion." My hands trembled as I closed the notebook and carefully returned it to its hiding place. The gravity of what I had discovered was overwhelming. It was clear that their relationship was not just friendly, it was crossing boundaries I hadn't anticipated. I returned to the group, my mind racing. The peaceful surroundings seemed to mock my turmoil, and I struggled to maintain my composure. Macy and Ryan were deep in conversation again, their faces close together, their connection more evident than ever. I could feel a growing sense of betrayal, as if the very foundation of our relationship was being slowly dismantled. That evening, back at camp, I found myself increasingly withdrawn. Macy noticed my silence but chose not to press. Instead, she seemed preoccupied with Ryan, often stealing glances in his direction and engaging in private conversations. When we finally retreated to our tent for the night, I couldn't contain my emotions any longer. I decided to confront Macy about the changes I had observed. "Macy," I began, my voice tight with controlled anger. "There's something we need to talk about. I can't ignore the way things have been between us lately." Her eyes met mine, a mixture of surprise and something else. Guilt, perhaps? "What do you mean?" she asked, though the defensiveness in her tone was palpable. "I know about the notebook," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I saw it today. It's clear that there's more going on here than just a friendly hike." Macy's expression shifted from surprise to apprehension. "Jonathan, it's not what you think," she started, but her voice lacked conviction. As I stared at her, the realization of how much had changed settled heavily upon me. The mountain, which had once seemed like a sanctuary, now felt like a battleground. Our relationship was unraveling, and the clarity I had sought was becoming increasingly elusive. I lay awake that night, feeling the weight of the situation bearing down on me. The path ahead was uncertain, and I was left grappling with the painful truth that the journey we were on was leading us further away from each other. The next day dawned bright and clear, but the beauty of the surroundings did little to lift the heavy atmosphere that hung over us. Macy and Ryan's interactions were more strained than ever, and though they made efforts to maintain normalcy, the undercurrent of tension was palpable. We set out for another hike, this time aiming to reach a high vantage point with panoramic views of the valley below. As we walked, I could see Macy trying to engage Ryan in light conversation, but there was an awkwardness to their exchanges. Ryan's responses were polite but distant, as if he was struggling with his own emotions. During one of our breaks, Macy and I walked slightly apart from the others. I seized the opportunity to address the elephant in the room. "Macy, we need to talk about what's been happening," I said, my voice firm but laden with frustration. She looked at me with a mixture of apprehension and defensiveness. "Jonathan, I don't know what you want me to say. Things have been complicated, but it's not what you think." "Not what I think?" I echoed, feeling my anger rise. "I found Ryan's notebook. It's clear that there's something more between you two than just a professional relationship." Macy's face paled, and she glanced away, struggling to find the right words. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen. It started out innocently, but feelings grew. I didn't expect it, and I didn't know how to handle it. I felt a mix of hurt and betrayal. So this was all just a game to you? You let it get out of hand without considering how it would affect us?" "No, Jonathan, it wasn't like that," she said, her voice trembling. "I care about you. I didn't want this to hurt you." The conversation ended in silence. Macy and I both knew there was more to say, but neither of us could find the right words. As we continued the hike, the silence between us was more oppressive than ever. The day's hike brought us to the high point we had aimed for, but the stunning views did little to lift my spirits. Macy and Ryan, though trying to act as if everything were normal, couldn't hide their discomfort. I could see them exchanging uneasy glances, and it was clear that the unspoken tension was affecting both of them. That evening, back at camp, Macy and Ryan seemed to retreat into their own world. They sat together by the fire, their conversation a mix of hushed tones and occasional bursts of laughter. I tried to join in, but my presence felt intrusive, and I retreated to a nearby rock to sit alone. As I watched them, the realization of what had happened began to sink in. This trip, which was meant to be a rekindling of our relationship, had become a painful reminder of our growing distance. The person I had trusted most was now entangled in something that felt like a betrayal. Later that night, as we lay in the tent, I could hear Macy's quiet sobs. She tried to stifle them, but the sound was unmistakable. I wanted to comfort her, to bridge the chasm that had opened between us, but I was at a loss for how to do so. "Macy," I said softly, trying to break the silence, "we need to figure this out. We can't continue like this." She turned toward me, her face wet with tears. "I don't know how to fix this, Jonathan. I feel so lost." We lay in silence, the weight of our situation pressing down on us. The mountain, which had seemed like a refuge, now felt like a place of profound uncertainty. Our relationship was in turmoil, and as we faced the night, I couldn't help but wonder if we would ever find our way back to each other. The next morning, a heavy fog hung over the mountains, adding to the sense of foreboding that had settled over our group. Macy and I had barely exchanged words, and the distance between us felt like an insurmountable chasm. Ryan, though visibly uncomfortable, tried to maintain a professional demeanor, but the strain was evident. Our hike that day was supposed to lead us through a beautiful forested area, but the fog and our fractured dynamics made everything seem more oppressive. Macy walked ahead with Ryan, their conversations punctuated by occasional bursts of laughter that stung like salt in a wound. I trailed behind, struggling to keep my thoughts from spiraling into despair. During one of our rest stops, I took a moment to step away and gather my thoughts. I sat on a large rock trying to clear my mind, but the sight of Macy and Ryan huddled together made it impossible to find peace. I felt like an intruder in what should have been our shared experience. As the day progressed, the fog began to lift, revealing a landscape that was both beautiful and bittersweet. We reached a vantage point with a view of the valley below, and Ryan suggested taking a group photo. I forced a smile as we posed together, but the photo felt like a cruel reminder of how far we had drifted from the happy couple we had been. That evening, the tension continued to simmer. Around the campfire, Macy and Ryan were engrossed in a conversation that seemed to exclude me. Their whispers and shared jokes were a painful reminder of the intimacy they now shared. I tried to engage, but my attempts were met with polite but disengaged responses. As the fire dwindled to embers, I decided to take a walk to clear my mind. I wandered away from the camp, the cool night air a small comfort amidst the chaos of my thoughts. The stars were out in full force, but their beauty did little to lighten my mood. I was deep in thought when I heard footsteps behind me. Macy had followed, her face illuminated by the faint light of the moon. "Jonathan," she said softly, "can we talk?" I stopped and turned to face her, the hurt in her eyes mirroring my own. "I don't know what there is left to say, Macy. We've already talked about what's happening. What can we do to fix this?" Macy's voice trembled as she spoke. "I never meant for this to happen. I care about you, but I also care about Ryan. I don't know how to reconcile these feelings." Her words were a stark reminder of how entangled our lives had become. "So, what do you want to do?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Do you want to be with Ryan? Or do you want to try to fix what we have?" "I don't know," she admitted, tears welling in her eyes. "I'm so confused. I didn't expect this to happen, and now I feel like I'm caught between two worlds." The weight of her confession hung heavily between us. I wanted to offer comfort, but the reality was that our relationship was at a crossroads. The emotional distance that had grown between us seemed insurmountable. We walked back to camp in silence, the night air filled with unspoken words. As we settled into our tent, I felt a deep sense of loss. Our time in the mountains, which was supposed to be a chance to reconnect, had become a painful journey through the heart of our relationship's disintegration. As I lay in the darkness, I realized that the path forward was uncertain. The growing distance between Macy and me was a clear sign that our relationship needed more than just words. It needed action, understanding, and perhaps a reevaluation of what we wanted from each other. The mountains, once a symbol of adventure and renewal, now felt like a stark reminder of the challenges we faced. The next morning, the fog had cleared, leaving behind a brilliant blue sky that seemed to mock the turmoil we were experiencing. The crisp, clear day was a stark contrast to the heavy atmosphere that had settled over us. Despite the beauty of the surroundings, Macy and I felt trapped in our own emotional fog. As we prepared for another day of hiking, Ryan approached me with an unusual look of concern. "Hey, Jonathan, can we talk for a minute?" he asked, his voice low and earnest. I nodded, curiosity piqued. We walked a short distance away from the campsite, the sun warming our faces. "What's up, Ryan?" I asked, trying to sound casual. Ryan took a deep breath, clearly wrestling with his thoughts. "I want to be honest with you," he began. "There's something you should know. I didn't plan for things to get complicated between Macy and me. I was drawn to her, but I've been struggling with how to handle the situation." I looked at him, my emotions a mix of anger and confusion. So, what are you saying? That you've been caught up in something you didn't intend? Exactly, Ryan said. I never meant to hurt you or Macy. I've been trying to figure out what to do, and I thought it was important that you hear it from me directly. His admission surprised me. Though it didn't absolve him of any wrongdoing, it offered some clarity about the situation. Why tell me this now? I asked. What's changed? Ryan looked down, his expression pained. Because I'm realizing that I need to step back. This isn't fair to you or Macy. I thought I could handle it, but it's clear that I've made things worse. As I processed his words, I couldn't help but feel a mixture of relief and continued betrayal. So what happens now? I asked, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. I think it's best if I remove myself from the situation, Ryan said. I'll make arrangements to end our hiking trip early. It's the right thing to do. I nodded, appreciating his honesty, even if it didn't erase the hurt. Thank you for being upfront with me, I said. I need to talk to Macy about this. When I returned to camp, I found Macy sitting alone, her face reflecting a mix of sadness and contemplation. I approached her with a sense of determination. Macy, I spoke with Ryan. He's decided to step back from the situation and end the trip early. Her eyes widened in surprise. He's leaving? She asked, her voice tinged with both relief and regret. Yes, I confirmed. He's doing what he feels is right, but we need to talk about what this means for us. Macy nodded, her face a mixture of relief and resignation. I think that's for the best. I've been so lost in this whirlwind that I haven't had a chance to think clearly. We sat together by the campfire, our conversation marked by a new sense of urgency and honesty. I never wanted things to get this complicated, Macy admitted. I thought I could handle it, but now I see how much I've hurt you. I've been feeling that too, I said, my voice steady. But now that Ryan is leaving, we have a chance to focus on us, to figure out where we go from here. Macy took a deep breath. I want to fix things, Jonathan. I know it's going to take time and effort, but I'm willing to try. The weight of the situation was still heavy, but there was a glimmer of hope amidst the uncertainty. With Ryan's departure, we were left with the opportunity to confront our issues and perhaps rebuild what had been broken. As night fell and we prepared for our final night in the mountains, the air was filled with a mix of anticipation and trepidation. The journey ahead was unclear, but the chance to address our issues head-on offered a faint but real hope for healing. The next morning, as the sun filtered through the trees and cast a warm glow over the campsite, Ryan was busy packing up his gear. Macy and I watched in silence, the weight of our recent conversation hanging heavily between us. Though Ryan's departure was a step towards resolution, it felt like the beginning of a new, uncertain chapter for Macy and me. After Ryan finished his preparations, he gave us a final somber nod. I hope you two can find a way to work things out, he said, his voice earnest. I'm really sorry for the way things turned out. Thank you, Ryan, I said, feeling a mix of gratitude and lingering bitterness. Good luck. As Ryan departed, Macy and I were left alone in the camp, the silence between us both a burden and a chance for clarity. With Ryan gone, the opportunity to address our issues felt both urgent and essential. I turned to Macy, taking a deep breath. Macy, we need to talk. Really talk. We've been avoiding this, but it's time to confront what's happened and figure out how we move forward. She nodded, her face reflecting a mixture of apprehension and determination. I agree. Let's talk. We sat down on a large rock overlooking the valley, the stillness of the morning offering a peaceful backdrop to our difficult conversation. Macy took a deep breath before speaking. I'm so sorry for everything, she began, her voice trembling. I never meant for things to get this way. I got caught up in something I didn't fully understand, and I ended up hurting you more than I ever intended. I looked at her, trying to keep my emotions in check. I appreciate your apology, but we need to understand why this happened. Why did you let it get to this point? Macy's eyes filled with tears as she spoke. It wasn't just about Ryan. I've been feeling disconnected from you for a while. I thought this trip would help us reconnect, but instead, I found myself drawn into something that seemed to offer a different kind of connection. It was a mistake, and I realize that now. I listened, trying to process her words. I understand that you were struggling, but we need to address how we got here and what we can do to rebuild our trust. I know, Macy said, her voice cracking. I want to work on this. I want us to rebuild what we've lost. I'm committed to making things right, even if it takes time and effort. I nodded, feeling a glimmer of hope amidst the lingering hurt. Rebuilding trust won't be easy. We need to communicate openly, set new boundaries, and work on reconnecting. It's going to be a long process, but if we both commit to it, we might find our way back to each other. Macy reached out and took my hand, her grip trembling but sincere. I'm ready to do whatever it takes. I know it's going to be hard, but I don't want to lose what we have. I love you, Jonathan, and I want to fight for us. As we sat there, holding hands and sharing our hopes and fears, it felt like a small but significant step towards healing. The mountains, which had been a backdrop to our turmoil, now seemed to offer a chance for reflection and renewal. We spent the rest of the day talking, sharing our thoughts and feelings more openly than we had in months. It was a painful process, but it also felt like a crucial part of moving forward. By the evening, as we prepared to leave the mountains and return to our everyday lives, there was a sense of tentative optimism. We knew that the journey ahead would be challenging, but we were both committed to facing it together. The mountains had given us a chance to confront our issues and begin the difficult process of rebuilding. As we packed up our gear and prepared to leave, there was a shared understanding that while the road to recovery would be long, we were willing to take the first steps together. The drive back from the mountains was quiet, but filled with a sense of resolve. The breathtaking views that had once symbolized our romantic escape now served as a backdrop for a more somber journey back to reality. Macy and I exchanged occasional glances, our earlier heart-to-heart still fresh in our minds. As we arrived home, the familiarity of our surroundings was both comforting and daunting. The challenges we faced now lay ahead of us, and the real work of rebuilding our relationship was just beginning. The first few days were a mix of awkwardness and tentative efforts to reconnect. We both knew that while we had made progress in the mountains, there was still much to address. To facilitate this process, we agreed to seek couples therapy, a decision that, though difficult, felt necessary for our healing. Our first therapy session was an emotional experience. We sat in a cozy room, surrounded by soothing colors and comfortable furniture. The therapist, Dr. Stevens, was warm and empathetic, creating a safe space for us to explore our feelings and concerns. Dr. Stevens began by asking us to discuss our individual experiences and perspectives. Macy spoke about her feelings of disconnection and how the situation with Ryan had made her realize the depth of our issues. I shared my sense of betrayal and the struggle to understand how we had reached this point. Throughout the session, Dr. Stevens guided us through exercises designed to improve our communication and rebuild trust. We practiced active listening, where each of us would reflect back what the other had said before responding. This exercise, though challenging, helped us to better understand each other's viewpoints and emotions. One of the most difficult parts of the session was discussing the boundaries and expectations we needed to set moving forward. Macy and I both acknowledged that establishing clear boundaries and maintaining transparency would be crucial for rebuilding trust. After the session, Macy and I left the therapist's office feeling a mixture of relief and exhaustion. The process had been emotionally draining, but also enlightening. We realized that while the path to healing would be long and difficult, we were taking the necessary steps to address our issues. In the days that followed, we made a conscious effort to implement what we had learned in therapy. We set aside time each week for open and honest discussions, focusing on rebuilding our connection and addressing any lingering issues. We also began to engage in activities that we had enjoyed together in the past, hoping to rekindle some of the positive aspects of our relationship. Though there were setbacks and difficult conversations, there were also moments of genuine connection and progress. We learned to appreciate each other's efforts and to recognize the small victories along the way. The journey was far from over, but there was a growing sense of hope that we could rebuild what had been broken. One evening, as we sat together on the porch, watching the sun set over the horizon, Macy reached out and took my hand. "Jonathan, I know we have a long way to go, but I want you to know how much I appreciate your willingness to work through this with me. I'm committed to making things better." I squeezed her hand gently, feeling a renewed sense of hope. "I appreciate you too, Macy. I know it won't be easy, but I believe we can get through this together." As we watched the sun dip below the horizon, there was a quiet sense of optimism. The road ahead was still uncertain, but we were determined to face it together, with a new understanding of each other and a renewed commitment to our relationship. As the weeks passed, Macy and I continued our efforts to rebuild our relationship. The initial intensity of our emotional journey began to settle into a more manageable routine. Therapy sessions with Dr. Stevens became a regular part of our lives, providing us with tools to navigate the complexities of our renewed commitment to each other. We both noticed positive changes. Our communication improved, and we were more willing to address issues as they arose rather than letting them fester. Simple acts of kindness, like leaving thoughtful notes or planning small surprises, helped to rekindle the affection that had been overshadowed by recent events. One Saturday, we decided to take a short trip to a nearby town for a change of scenery. It was a small step towards finding joy in our shared experiences again. We explored local shops, had lunch at a charming cafe, and took a leisurely walk through the town's park. It felt like a glimpse of the connection we once had, and the outing was a welcome break from our routine. That evening, as we sat on the porch of our cabin, we reflected on the journey we had been through. The process of rebuilding had not been without its challenges, but there was a growing sense of gratitude for the progress we had made. "I'm really proud of us," Macy said, her voice soft but sincere. "We've worked hard to get here, and even though it's been tough, I feel like we're moving in the right direction." I looked at her, feeling a deep sense of appreciation. "I'm proud of us too. It hasn't been easy, but we've shown a lot of strength and commitment. I'm hopeful for our future." We spent the rest of the evening talking about our goals and dreams for the future. It was an opportunity to reconnect on a deeper level and to envision a path forward that included both of our aspirations. We talked about the importance of continuing our efforts in therapy and maintaining open communication as we moved ahead. As we wrapped up our conversation, we decided to make a commitment to celebrate our progress and milestones, no matter how small. We agreed to plan regular relationship check-ins, where we would discuss how we were feeling, address any concerns, and set goals for our continued growth. In the days that followed, the changes we had made began to take root in our daily lives. We found ourselves more engaged and present with each other, enjoying the simple pleasures of our relationship. The process of healing was ongoing, but the sense of partnership and mutual respect was stronger than ever. One morning, as I watched Macy prepare breakfast, I felt a deep sense of contentment. The challenges we had faced had brought us closer in ways we hadn't anticipated. Our relationship was still a work in progress, but there was a renewed sense of hope and commitment. We both understood that the journey ahead would require ongoing effort and understanding. There would be setbacks and difficult moments, but we were ready to face them together. The foundation we were building was based on a deeper appreciation for each other and a shared commitment to making our relationship work. As we sat down to breakfast, Macy looked at me with a smile. "Here's to us, our journey, our progress, and our future together." I raised my cup in agreement. To us and to the future we're building together. The road to healing was still unfolding, but the shared optimism and renewed connection gave us confidence that we could navigate the challenges ahead. The future was uncertain, but with each other's support and commitment, we were ready to face it with hope and determination. The arrival of spring brought a sense of renewal and hope. The days were growing longer, and the world outside seemed to mirror the positive changes taking place in our relationship. Macy and I continued to work diligently on our connection, embracing both the small victories and the inevitable challenges. One Saturday, as we were preparing for our regular therapy session, Macy suggested we take a break from our routine and do something spontaneous. "How about we visit that old vineyard we used to love? It's been ages since we've been there." I was pleasantly surprised by the idea. "That sounds like a great plan. It'll be nice to revisit a place that holds good memories for us." We spent the afternoon at the vineyard, savoring the beauty of the blooming flowers and the rich aroma of the wine. The experience was both nostalgic and uplifting. As we walked through the rows of vines, we reminisced about the times we had spent there before and how different things were now. Macy took my hand as we strolled through the vineyard, her touch a comforting reminder of our renewed connection. "I'm really enjoying this," she said, her voice filled with contentment. It feels like we're starting a new chapter in our lives. I nodded, feeling a deep sense of agreement. I feel the same way. It's amazing how something as simple as a visit to a place we love can remind us of what we have and where we're going. As we sampled some of the vineyard's finest wines, we talked about our future plans and dreams. The conversation was filled with optimism and excitement, reflecting the positive changes we had experienced. We discussed potential trips, personal goals, and ways we could continue to strengthen our relationship. Later, as the sun began to set, casting a warm golden light over the vineyard, Macy and I found a quiet spot to sit and reflect. The tranquil setting provided a perfect backdrop for a heartfelt conversation. "I'm grateful for how far we've come," Macy said, her voice soft but sincere. "I know we still have work to do, but I feel like we're on the right path. I appreciate your patience and commitment." "I feel the same," I replied, taking her hand in mine. "We've both put in a lot of effort, and it's made a real difference. I'm looking forward to the future and the possibilities it holds for us." Our time at the vineyard was a beautiful reminder of the progress we had made. It was a testament to our ability to navigate through difficulties and find joy in the small moments. As we drove home that evening, there was a shared sense of accomplishment and hope. Back at home, we continued to embrace the positive changes in our lives. We made a point of celebrating our milestones, no matter how small, and continued our efforts in therapy. Our relationship was evolving, and we were both committed to nurturing it. One evening, as we relaxed together at home, Macy surprised me with a scrapbook she had been working on. It was filled with memories from our relationship, photos, mementos, and notes reflecting our journey together. "This is amazing," I said, flipping through the pages. "It's a beautiful reminder of our shared experiences and the progress we've made." Macy smiled, her eyes filled with warmth. "I wanted to create something that captured our journey and reminded us of how far we've come. I hope it serves as a reminder of our commitment to each other." The scrapbook was a touching gesture, symbolizing the new chapter we were embarking on. It was a testament to our growth and the strength of our relationship. As we continued to build our future together, we knew that challenges would arise and that the journey would not always be smooth. However, with each passing day, we grew more confident in our ability to face whatever came our way. Our renewed connection and shared commitment provided a strong foundation for the future. With each new experience, Macy and I were writing a new chapter in our story, one marked by hope, understanding, and a deep appreciation for each other. The road ahead was filled with promise, and we were ready to embrace it with open hearts and unwavering resolve. Summer had arrived, bringing with it a sense of vibrancy and possibility. The days were longer and filled with warmth, reflecting the renewed optimism that had taken root in our relationship. Macy and I continued to embrace our journey, finding joy in the small moments and remaining committed to our ongoing efforts. One particularly sunny Saturday, we decided to take a day trip to a nearby lake, hoping to enjoy some relaxation and leisure. The drive there was filled with light-hearted conversation and laughter, a welcome contrast to the tension and uncertainty that had once dominated our interactions. When we arrived at the lake, we were greeted by a picturesque scene, calm waters reflecting the blue sky, lush greenery, and families enjoying the summer day. We set up a small picnic on the grass and spent the afternoon basking in the tranquility of the surroundings. As we lounged by the water, Macy turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "Jonathan, I've been thinking a lot about how we've grown and changed over the past few months. I know we've had our challenges, but I feel like we're stronger than ever." I nodded, feeling a deep sense of agreement. "I think so too. We've faced a lot together, and it's made us more resilient. We've learned a lot about each other and ourselves." We spent the afternoon talking about our experiences and reflecting on the progress we had made. The conversations were open and heartfelt, allowing us to reconnect on a deeper level. The serene environment of the lake seemed to amplify the sense of peace and understanding between us. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the lake, Macy and I took a leisurely stroll along the water's edge. We talked about our plans for the future and the dreams we wanted to pursue together. The conversation was filled with hope and excitement, reflecting the positive changes in our relationship. Later that evening, as we packed up to head home, Macy surprised me with a small handcrafted journal. "I've been working on this for a while," she said, handing it to me. It's a journal for us to write about our experiences, our hopes, and our dreams. I thought it might be a nice way to keep track of our progress and our journey together. I took the journal, touched by her gesture. This is wonderful, Macy. It's a beautiful way to capture our journey and celebrate our growth. As we drove back home, the journal sat between us, a tangible reminder of our commitment to each other and the future we were building together. The day at the lake had been a reaffirmation of the strength and resilience we had developed as a couple. In the weeks that followed, Macy and I continued to embrace the positive changes in our relationship. We made a point of regularly reflecting on our experiences and celebrating our achievements, no matter how small. The journal became a cherished part of our routine, a symbol of our ongoing efforts to nurture and strengthen our bond. Our relationship was not without its challenges, but the resilience we had developed gave us the confidence to face whatever came our way. We learned to appreciate the strength that comes from overcoming adversity and the value of maintaining open and honest communication. As the summer drew to a close, Macy and I looked forward to the future with a sense of hope and optimism. We knew that the journey ahead would continue to require effort and understanding, but we were prepared to face it with the strength of our renewed connection. The experiences we had shared and the lessons we had learned had forged a deeper bond between us. Our relationship was stronger and more resilient than before, and we were ready to embrace the future together, confident in our ability to navigate the challenges and celebrate the joys that lay ahead. As autumn approached, the landscape around us began to change, mirroring the evolving dynamics in our relationship. The vibrant colors of fall served as a reminder of the beauty that can emerge from periods of change and growth. Macy and I continued to focus on nurturing our bond, but we knew that the real test of our progress would come as we faced new challenges and opportunities. One crisp October weekend, we decided to visit a small town famous for its fall festival. It was an opportunity to enjoy the season and create new memories together. The festival was bustling with activity, hay rides, pumpkin patches, and local crafts. We spent the day exploring the various attractions, enjoying each other's company and the festive atmosphere. As we walked through the town square, Macy noticed a small booth offering couples photography sessions. "What do you think about having a photo taken?" she asked with a hopeful smile. I glanced at the booth and then back at her. "That sounds like a great idea. It could be a fun way to capture this moment in our journey." We posed for the photo, laughing and joking with the photographer. The experience was a lighthearted reminder of how far we had come and the importance of cherishing our shared moments. Later that evening, as we enjoyed a quiet dinner at a cozy restaurant, we took a moment to reflect on our experiences. The conversation was filled with gratitude for the progress we had made and a renewed focus on our goals for the future. "I've been thinking about how much we've learned and grown," Macy said, her voice thoughtful. "We've come so far since the beginning of the year, and I'm proud of what we've accomplished together." "I feel the same way," I replied. "Our journey has been challenging, but it's also been incredibly rewarding. We've learned a lot about ourselves and each other, and I'm grateful for the strength and resilience we've built." As the weeks continued, we faced new tests of our commitment. Work demands increased, and personal responsibilities began to pile up. It was a period of stress and adjustment, but we remained focused on maintaining our connection and supporting each other through the challenges. We made a point of setting aside time for each other, even amidst our busy schedules. Regular date nights, quiet evenings at home, and thoughtful gestures helped to reinforce our bond and remind us of the importance of prioritizing our relationship. One particularly hectic week, Macy surprised me with a heartfelt letter. She had taken the time to express her appreciation for the efforts we had both made and the love that continued to grow between us. The letter was a touching reminder of the deep connection we shared and the reasons we had committed to working through our difficulties. In response, I planned a special weekend getaway to a nearby cabin, hoping to provide us with a chance to relax and reconnect. The getaway was a much-needed break from our routine, allowing us to enjoy each other's company and reflect on the progress we had made. As we sat by the fireplace, sharing our thoughts and dreams, there was a renewed sense of intimacy and understanding. The challenges we had faced and the efforts we had made to overcome them had strengthened our relationship and deepened our appreciation for each other. The autumn season continued to unfold, bringing with it a sense of renewal and hope. Macy and I faced each day with a commitment to maintaining the progress we had made and to continuing our journey together. The test of time had revealed the strength of our bond and the depth of our resilience. As we embraced the changes and opportunities that lay ahead, we did so with a renewed sense of confidence and a shared commitment to building a future filled with love, understanding, and mutual support. Our relationship had weathered storms and faced trials, but it had emerged stronger and more connected. The future was still uncertain, but with each other by our side, we were prepared to face whatever came our way with hope and determination. As winter approached, the world around us transformed into a landscape of snow and quiet beauty. The chill in the air and the quiet of the snowfall provided a serene backdrop for reflection and introspection. Macy and I had made significant progress in our relationship, but the cold months ahead presented new challenges and opportunities for growth. One Saturday morning, we decided to take a weekend trip to a nearby ski resort. It was an opportunity to enjoy the winter weather and create new memories together. The resort was bustling with activity, and the snow-covered slopes offered a picturesque setting for our getaway. We spent the day skiing and exploring the resort, enjoying the thrill of the slopes and the warmth of the cozy lodge. The experience was both exhilarating and relaxing, providing a welcome escape from our everyday routines. That evening, as we sat by the fire in the lodge, Macy and I found a quiet corner to talk. The warmth of the fire and the soft glow of the lights created an intimate atmosphere, perfect for a heartfelt conversation. "I've been thinking a lot about how far we've come," Macy said, her voice thoughtful. "We've faced so many challenges, and we've grown so much as a couple. I feel like we're at a turning point in our relationship." I nodded, feeling a deep sense of agreement. "I think you're right. We've worked hard to rebuild our connection, and we've made a lot of progress. But I also feel like we're entering a new phase, where we can focus on building our future together." Macy took a deep breath, her eyes reflecting a mix of hope and vulnerability. "I want us to continue growing and evolving. I know we've come a long way, but I also want us to keep moving forward and exploring new possibilities." I reached out and took her hand, feeling a renewed sense of commitment. "I agree. We've built a strong foundation, and now it's time to focus on our future and the new opportunities that lie ahead." We spent the rest of the evening discussing our goals and dreams for the future. We talked about the possibility of starting a family, pursuing new career opportunities, and exploring new hobbies together. The conversation was filled with excitement and optimism, reflecting our shared vision for the future. The following day, as we prepared to leave the resort, Macy surprised me with a small wrapped gift. "I wanted to give you something to mark this turning point in our relationship," she said, handing me the gift. I unwrapped the gift to find a beautiful leather-bound journal. The cover was embossed with our initials and the date of our trip. "This is amazing," I said, touched by her gesture. "Thank you." Macy smiled, her eyes filled with warmth. "I thought it would be a nice way for us to document our journey and the new phase we're entering. I hope it serves as a reminder of how far we've come and the exciting future we have ahead of us." As we drove home, the journal sat between us, a symbol of the new chapter we were beginning. The winter landscape outside the window was a reminder of the beauty that can emerge from periods of change and growth. Back at home, Macy and I continued to embrace the positive changes in our relationship. We made a point of setting new goals and exploring new opportunities together. The journal became a cherished part of our routine, a tangible reminder of our commitment to each other and our shared vision for the future. The winter months brought their own set of challenges, but we faced them with a renewed sense of optimism and determination. Our relationship had weathered many trials, and we were confident in our ability to navigate whatever came our way. As the year drew to a close, Macy and I looked back on our journey with a sense of pride and accomplishment. We had faced adversity, rebuilt our connection, and embraced new possibilities. The turning point we had reached marked the beginning of an exciting new chapter in our lives. With each passing day, we continued to strengthen our bond and explore the future with hope and excitement. The challenges we had faced had made us stronger, and the new opportunities ahead were a testament to the resilience and love that had brought us together. The new year began with a sense of renewal and possibility. As we entered the next chapter of our lives, Macy and I were filled with a deep sense of gratitude for the progress we had made and the strength we had built together. The winter months, though cold and challenging, had only deepened our commitment to each other. One Saturday morning, we decided to take a leisurely walk through a nearby park. The air was crisp and clear, and the ground was covered in a light dusting of snow. It was a peaceful setting, perfect for reflection and planning. As we walked hand in hand, we talked about our goals and aspirations for the year ahead. Macy expressed her excitement about pursuing new career opportunities and exploring her creative interests. I shared my enthusiasm for personal growth and the prospect of further developing our relationship. "I'm excited about what this year holds for us," Macy said, her voice filled with anticipation. "We've made so much progress, and I feel like we're ready to take on new challenges and opportunities." "I feel the same way," I replied. "We've worked hard to get to this point, and I'm looking forward to continuing our journey together. There are so many possibilities ahead, and I'm excited to explore them with you." As we walked through the park, we stopped to admire a large oak tree standing tall and strong amidst the winter landscape. Its branches were bare, but there was a sense of resilience and endurance in its presence. "This tree reminds me of us," Macy said thoughtfully. "It's weathered many seasons and continues to stand strong. It's a symbol of our resilience and the strength we've built together." I nodded, feeling a deep sense of connection to her words. "I think that's a beautiful comparison. We've faced challenges, but we've grown stronger and more resilient. We're ready to embrace whatever comes our way." Later that evening, we celebrated the start of the new year with a special dinner at home. We prepared a meal together, enjoying the process of cooking and spending quality time with each other. As we sat down to eat, we reflected on the past year and shared our hopes and dreams for the future. Macy raised her glass in a toast. "Here's to us, our journey, our growth, and the exciting future ahead. I'm grateful for everything we've been through and for the love and strength we share." I raised my glass in agreement. "To us and to the future. May it be filled with love, happiness, and new adventures." The evening was a celebration of our progress and a hopeful look towards the future. We enjoyed the meal, shared laughter, and spoke about the plans we had for the year ahead. It was a reminder of the strong foundation we had built and the exciting possibilities that lay before us. As the months went by, Macy and I continued to focus on our goals and support each other in our personal and shared endeavors. We made a conscious effort to celebrate our milestones and cherish the moments of joy and connection. The challenges we faced were met with a renewed sense of optimism and determination. Our relationship was stronger than ever, and we were committed to nurturing it through the ups and downs of life. The new year brought with it a sense of adventure and excitement. We embraced the opportunities that came our way and remained dedicated to building a future filled with love and understanding. Each day was a step forward in our journey, and we faced the future with hope and confidence. As we looked ahead, Macy and I were ready to embrace the challenges and opportunities that lay before us. Our relationship had weathered many trials, and we were excited to continue our journey together, knowing that with each other's support and love, we could face anything that came our way.